Hello and welcome to The Explainer. So let's talk about a Thai film called Eternity. It's this incredible story about a really passionate love affair that, ends in total tragedy. Which makes you wonder, right? Why on earth would you call a film about something that so clearly doesn't last eternity? Well, as we're about to find out, this film is about way more than just a doomed romance. It's really about how easily our own eyes can fool us. So yeah, right off the bat, that title feels like a paradox, a puzzle. Why call a story about a temporary, tragic love affair eternity? And you know what? Digging into that question is exactly how we're going to unpack the film's real message. It kind of forces you to think, what actually is permanent? And what are we just telling ourselves will last forever? Okay, so our guide through this whole story isn't some wise, all-knowing narrator. Nope. The entire thing is told from the memory of the head housekeeper. And this is the crucial part. He's not a philosopher. He's just a regular guy. He sees things exactly the way most of us would. Practically, literally, right there on the surface. He's basically our stand-in for the ordinary point of view. So through the housekeeper's eyes, his boss is this classic rich womanizer. He brings all these beautiful women to his estate, and like clockwork, every 6 months he gets bored and sends them away. Seems pretty open and shut, right? Just a wealthy man indulging his whims. But what if that's not what's happening at all? To really get the film's deeper meaning, we've got to introduce a concept from Buddhist philosophy. It's called Dian Dao Qian, and that basically translates to inverted views. Now, I know, it sounds a little complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It says that most of us, as ordinary people, see reality completely upside down. We chase after things that cause us pain, thinking they'll bring us joy. We cling to things that are temporary, convinced they're going to last forever. It's like we're all looking at the world through a funhouse mirror. So let's take this idea of inverted views and apply it. Okay, so the housekeeper with his worldly view sees a promiscuous guy who just gets bored with women. But the hidden truth, the enlightened view, is something else entirely. The boss actually sees that his staff are lonely and they can't find anyone. So he uses his money and his status to bring eligible women to the estate, hoping one of his employees will make a connection. And when they do, he just quietly steps aside. He's not a womanizer. He's a secret matchmaker. And this brings us right back to that title, Eternity. The two main lovers in the film are absolutely convinced their connection is special, that it's the one thing that will last forever. But believing that is the ultimate inverted view. The film is really highlighting the Buddhist principle of Woturng, which just means impermanence. Nothing lasts. So believing your love is the one exception to the rule of the universe, well, that's the very definition of seeing the world upside down. So the film shows us how we fool ourselves with our beliefs, but it also gets into how we fool other people with our words. And this brings us to a second big idea, the Rashomon effect. Now, this isn't just about different people telling different stories. It's about how each of us, on our own, uses words to hide what we're really feeling and to protect our own ego. Our words become a kind of mask. The character Yu Pari gives us an absolute masterclass in this. Her boss, who happens to be a prince, has just been arrested. She's talking to someone who could be our next employer. And this is what she says. Now, on the surface, it just sounds like she's complaining about politics, right? But is that all that's going on here? If we really decode what she's saying, we can see 3 different layers. So layer 1, the surface, is the complaint. The government is awful. I'm just a poor victim here. But the hidden emotion, layer 2, is pure fear. Oh my God, I just lost my job and I'm terrified. But the deepest layer, layer 3, is the hidden motive, what the source material calls a mu, or basically a subtle plot. She's not just complaining, she's advertising herself. I mean, think about what her complaint actually gets across. By casually mentioning her boss was a prince, she's signaling her own high status. By saying she was his living computer, she's highlighting her incredible skills. The subtext is just impossible to miss. I'm extremely competent, I'm suddenly unemployed through no fault of my own, and hey, I'm available. It's an absolutely brilliant career move disguised as a simple complaint. And this is why, to be a really intelligent listener, you almost have to be a psychological detective. People rarely just come out and say exactly what they mean. They speak in Rashomon, wrapping their true fears and their desires in these stories to protect themselves. So to really, truly understand someone, you have to listen for what's behind the words, not just the words themselves. I mean, the difference is just so stark. The Rashomon style says, the world is broken, I'm a victim. It's all about protecting the ego. But clear, direct communication owns the reality. I am upset because I lost my job. Of course, that kind of honesty, that kind of vulnerability, it's really hard. It's almost always easier to pretend we're perfect and that the world is the thing that's flawed. So ultimately, both of these big ideas, the inverted views and the Rashomon effect, they really point to the same fundamental truth. Real wisdom isn't about desperately finding something that lasts forever. It's about learning to see things as they actually are, temporary, messy, and almost never what they seem on the surface. It's about learning to see the world, and maybe more importantly, ourselves, without any illusion. And that kind of leaves us with one last thought to chew on. Let's be honest, we are all guilty of speaking in Rashomon sometimes, and we all fall for our own inverted views. So the challenge the film really leaves us with is this. If our own words can hide so much, and our own perceptions can be so wrong, how do we even begin to strip away all those illusions? How do we learn to speak? And more importantly, how do we learn to listen with real clarity?